Cool. All right. Hey, everybody. Juan Press here, Organizing Monster. Welcome to another episode of Union or Bust, hottest labor podcast. And who do we have here?
Hi, I'm your union sister, Alana.
Wait a minute, that's my line. Yeah, I think we're going to have to scratch that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, we tried to do a little
We tried to
skit.
do something funny to
Going
her.
back.
I think we're just naturals at shooting from the hip.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I just thought it would be funny.
Cool.
All right.
So, Chris, who do we have here?
Well, we have your union sister on TikTok, Instagram, all the platforms, and you are part of the flight attendants union. So I've heard that you have a 99% strike vote?
Yeah.
99.6?
Yeah. So going back a little bit, you said the flight attendant union. There are several flight attendant unions. So I'm a member of the Association of Professional Flight Attendants, which we represent the American Airlines flight attendants. And so I don't want everybody to think that all flight attendants are going on strike right now. So the American Airlines flight attendants voted with 96% voter turnout, and 99.47% of us voted to strike.
Wow, that's really, really cool.
Yeah.
And you had huge voter turnout, I heard, too. Is that?
Yeah, 96%.
96?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had 30 days to organize that strike authorization vote. So we have 26,000 members. We worked our butts off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. And we have Alejandra, a.k.a. Alex.
Yes.
All Things Labor on TikTok,
Yes.
Instagram,
Yes.
all the platforms,
Yes.
right? That's awesome. And, I think it's really cool, like, what you're doing. I was surprised I was actually able to get you on the podcast. I thought we were going to get Sarah Nelson first. I go, we got All Things Labor, we got your union sister. I'm like, this is going to be great. So tell us, what's going on. Tell us a little about yourself and what are you doing right now?
Yeah. Well, the reason why I started like the platform or like our TikToks, because I have two Gen Z sisters and they're the ones that told me about TikTok, and I was just like, okay, like we need to like normalize organizing, we need to normalize unions, and we need to, if we know that, what was it, the AFL-CIO said like 88% of like Gen Z and like young millennials like view unions very highly, like where are they on platforms, right? And it's like TikTok, right? It's TikTok, it's YouTube Shorts, it's all these things. And basically the reason why I wanted to start it was because my coworkers and I unionized at workplace out in Los Angeles. We two different nonprofits, but the second time because they had aggressively were trying to union bust like so intensely, and it was during the pandemic. It was like, what resources or what do we have at our disposal as workers to be able to like put pressure on our employer when they're like being fucking assholes, right?
Exactly.
You can cuss here.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Okay.
Say whatever you want.
We'll cut that out.
Oops, cut it out.
That's extra credit.
And
Social media shaming.
yeah, no,
that's
but it's
what you got.
powerful. It's powerful, and like people like kind of forget that, like memes. Basically one of the things that I learned after doing like some research, I did a master's program after we had unionized, which I thought was really helpful because I think one of the things that we do when we're organizing is we don't kind of take the time to be reflective and be like, what can we do better? What can we improve? And it's kind of just like always on the go because there's so much that we have to do. But taking that time to be reflective was really helpful because then I was able to like do interviews with my coworkers in a different office that also had unionized within the same nonprofit. And it was just like really powerful. One of the things that I learned through the interviews was that management really fucking hates memes and they really don't know what the hell social media is. So like they were having, hour-long meetings, like all of management, to have people explain like what's a meme, because they didn't know it's like a meme, right? Having like explain like what's a restory, like why are they doing these things? Like we were making memes that were like about Star Wars, for example, and like if you guys watch Star Wars, it's like the Sith Lord, because they were basically holding healthcare like over our head after we had unionized. So we made like a meme where it says like the Sith Lord holding the lightsaber, talking to like I think it was Anakin Skywalker. And he goes, "You want this, don't you?" And it's like the lightsaber, but it was healthcare, and it really pissed off like our president,
Yeah.
which is always good.
I think that what you said about organizing, that you don't have time to be reflective, that's hella true because when I won one of my biggest campaigns, Encore, a VTEX here in San Diego, second city to have a contract in the country. When I won it with like 75% of the vote. And then it was during COVID. it felt like it was just we won, we grabbed pizza that day, and
I
that was
remember.
it. And then it went into like, all right, negotiation committee and this and that and this and that. Let's negotiate. Let's get the rat out. Let's. So I didn't really get to enjoy that moment. And I know it's not my moment, anyways. It's the workers' moment. But I felt like nobody
100%.
got to enjoy it because we went into gear real quick to try to fight for a contract.
Yeah,
So
a
I
lot of
really-
people don't realize when they're organizing that it doesn't ever stop. Like there's just different targets of momentum that you try to hit, and then the next one is right there. You know, as soon as you do get that vote for authorization, then or representation, then you have to like go and get your officers, and you have to get a constitution, bylaws. Like it's one thing after the next, and it really never stops.
Yeah.
What are the main issues, Alana, about your union sister, Alana, about the strike? Why did you take the strike vote? What were some of the main issues?
So we operate under the Railway Labor Act, which is different than the NLRB or NLRA. Sorry. So our contracts don't expire; they just become amendable. And our contract became amendable 4.5 years ago, and we've been negotiating for that entire time. Obviously, during COVID, we all took a step back because it was no time to negotiate, and we were trying to save our industry. But our employers don't negotiate in good faith, and there's lots of safety issues, health issues, and obviously pay issues that they're just not addressing with our workforce. And there's, especially when it comes to safety, they aren't very good at taking care of their employees when we're in base. So then we trust them to take care of us when we're flying around the world. And they fall short lots of times. I've been lost in the system a few times where crew schedulers didn't know where I was. My sequence or my trip had fallen apart, and I didn't know like what hotel I was supposed to stay at, where I was supposed to go.
wow.
I waited on hold for over an hour. And, these kinds of things, like if I were in danger at that moment, nobody would know. And we've had some public events happen recently where a flight attendant died in her hotel room under a situation that we don't know how it happened. And she wasn't found for 2 days, even though she was supposed to report for a trip that morning. So there's lots of things that we have issue with. And, when it's not being addressed and we're not getting what's fair while they're boasting about record profits, we've got to fight for ourselves.
And that's why you're on the hottest labor podcast in San Diego, right? You came all the way down here. Well, I think what's kind of going on, and I wanted to talk about, like, social media. Should social media be taken more seriously? Because I think about it, if it wasn't for TikTok, I never would have met you. I never would have met you, Alex. And
you wouldn't have been your union brother.
Yeah, and I was going to say, yeah. And the reason I am your union brother, because I started following Alana on TikTok, and it was your union sister. I'm like, hey, I need to change my handle. Because it was like one of those handles where you don't, it's all,
X123.
Yeah,
Yeah,
whatever.
there was, like,
and I'm
a
like, and I
period
changed
in
it. And
there.
I'm like, I wonder if that's taken. And it wasn't taken. And it's really cool because it's like when you comment as your union brother, all things labor. I think the labor movement is kicking ass in social media. But how important do you think it is?
Well, I think it's very important. As Alex said, you have to meet people where they are, and we need to, like, the people that are in labor right now can't be the ones running it forever. We have to give all of our knowledge, everything we've got, to the people that are coming into the labor movement. And you're not going to do that posting on Facebook. You have to get out to TikTok,
I feel
Instagram. There's still MySpace. You could still probably try to post on there. But you're not going to find the next generation on there. You've got to go to the other platforms and find them where they are.
Right.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I think what you said, like meeting people where they're at. I know this is not social media, but like that campaign that I was talking about, and people were asking me how I was doing it because it was a big campaign for just one person. And like I said, there's a second city that's been organized in the country. I'd meet people at Starbucks. I'd meet people at the bar. I'd meet people at Denny's, wherever, whenever. and that's meeting them where they're at. I know it's in person, it's not social media, but that's so important because people would ask me like, "Are you doing house calls?" Or you? I didn't do one single house call, and people would be like, "What the?" But that's what you're supposed to do. And I said, "I don't think so, man. Like, I think organizing has evolved. It's the 21st century organizing now. So if our demographics or workers are not in the same lanes like they were back then I think you have to constantly be evolving, and that's part of it, social media, meeting people where they're at. And I think that goes back to what you were saying of like making those memes.
Memes.
Memes. Like that's what you got to do with social media. Social media is a tool.
Yep.
It's not the end all be all, because obviously I think there's a lot of bad that comes with social media, just like everything, but you can use it as a tool for your benefit.
Yeah.
So how have you all been using that? I know you talked about the memes, but anything else that you're using social, because you guys are pretty active on social media. So any other ways you're using it that you've seen that without it, there's no way you could have made something happen?
Yeah. Okay. So I'll tell you guys a little bit. If like I've talked about this on TikTok for the folks that have been like following for like the last 2.5 years, I think. But the reason why nothing is ever going to replace one-on-ones, right? But I think one-on-ones are changing. So for example, you can have a we organized the second time that we organized, we did it completely remote, like because this was at the height of the pandemic. I mean, we're still in it, but it's still like, the height of the pandemic. And we had to do like Zoom calls. We had to call everyone. It was just like after work, after 5, then you're like jump on another call to talk to your coworkers. But what I noticed in terms of like the power of social media was so it was a nonprofit that was a nationwide nonprofit that had 10 different offices all over the country. One of the largest one was in Los Angeles, and so we had organized like back in 2020, June. I don't remember the dates. Don't quote me on it, but something around those times, we were organizing, and then during like a POC meeting that was like I was part of for like the nationwide. Every time we went on that call, it was kind of like, oh man, you're going through those microaggressions. Oh, you're dealing with that shit too. That sucks. But yet, like, we couldn't do anything, right? Because we didn't actually have power. But after we had filed to unionize, the president of our organization ended up sending out massive nationwide email. That's why they say, like, sometimes the boss makes the best organizer, because they sent this nationwide email to try to scare us. And the thing is, it did work. Like, it scared 2 of our coworkers to be like, I don't want to be part of this. I'm scared, right? And but what it also did was it had a different office from Seattle. They were like, yo, what the hell? Because they also have a lot of issues. So during the POC call, we were complaining about these things. And then I was like, hey, I just want to say really quickly, if anyone has questions of why LA is off, like, unionizing, here's my personal email, give me a call, right? Or my personal cell, give me a call. And then an attorney from a different office goes like, this isn't the place for that. We've never talked about this. And I said, right, this is why I'm giving you my personal cell phone so you give me a call. Like 20 minutes later, I get a text from someone from Seattle, and they're like, hey, I'm so-and-so, can we talk? So then because of that, I mean, like, Seattle from LA is hella far, and we got on a call with some of my coworkers and their coworkers, and we were talking, and we're like, damn, you guys also have like a lot of we have the same issues. Like, you talk to any worker, like you're going to resonate with the fact that we have the same problems. And during that time, the boss ended up trying to do a divide and conquer, which is what they always did. So when we won our election, they got volunteer recognition. And then when we were negotiating, which, by the way, their pro bono attorney is now a general like counsel for fucking Amazon. So like, just to know, like, piece of shit. And they ended up trying to pin Seattle and LA against each other. So they would send out nationwide emails and be like, LA is so mean. LA is so fucking mean. They're so rude. Seattle, they're so nice. But it's because we were fighting for different things. But they were trying to do it to divide us as well. And the reason also they were pissed is because we got on social media real quick. Like, we went on social media and we're like this is our bargaining unit. This is what we're fighting for. And anytime they were doing something that was union busting, we would make it public, like publicly known. And Seattle was being a lot more like chiller about it. But then the minute that they sent out an email saying like, oh, Seattle's so nice in comparison to LA. Like, look how all these things that we've been able to TA with, like, with Seattle, not LA. And Seattle got so fucking, and this is what I learned after like interviewing them. They got so fucking pissed that our president was trying to use them as a way to talk shit about us, that they created their own social media committee on top of their bargaining committee, because you always have to be organizing. And they're like, no, like, fuck that. We cannot let them use us as a way to like bust LA. So their first post was like, we're in solidarity with LA. Don't use us against,
Nice.
our coworkers. And after that, the president stopped sending emails that were like to try to pin us against each other because Seattle wasn't allowing that to happen. So like that's the power of social media. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Wow.
That's interesting that you say, well, a couple things. Organizing never stops, and the company always tries to pin the workers against each other.
Yes.
It's the longest tactic for anybody, really.
The great thing, though, is that they don't change. They're very
Yeah.
predictable.
Yes.
They're going to try to divide and conquer. They're going to try to scare and intimidate. They're going to try to hire new people in order to intimidate them and have scabs, and hopefully grow some scabs to try to prevent unionizing. They're going to try to block us in every direction. But the great thing about us is that we adapt and we change. So we know what they're going to do, and we can pivot, just like with what UAW is doing right now with their stand-up strikes.
Yeah.
GM didn't see it coming. In fact, so much so that they prepared to go
Right.
around it, drive engines to another plant that ended up being the one that walked out.
Right.
So, and that can all happen with social media. I've been using it in different ways, and my union's starting to get more active in social media as well.
see.
A lot of memes, especially the Philly counterparts. Man, they are on
Oh,
fire
yes,
on
they're
their.
dope.
Yes.
They're so dope.
But if you can just keep people locked into what you're putting out there and be able to communicate at the drop of a hat, like it's way more than any company can do. They just try to emulate social media, but nobody wants to be that connected to their workplace.
Right.
Speaking of people trying to stand in the way of workers organizing, people trying to undermine the labor movement, let's talk a little about Gavin Newsom, his vetoes. He vetoed a bill that would give striking workers the right to unemployment. Now, personally, I've never seen him on a picket line. I've never seen him stand in solidarity, but
And you
know,
won't.
And you won't. Did he go to your picket line?
He wasn't there.
Well, that's Gavin Newsom right there.
Oh yeah, but that, well, no, that's
Pay some
well,
respects.
yeah.
Come on.
I'm
All right.
sorry about that.
Sorry, Gavin.
No comment. No comment.
We're gonna get fired. We're all getting fired, Chris. Uber for life.
Yeah, well, the main we always say on the podcast, the main thing is to keep the main thing. Kitchen
Yeah.
table economics. People will. I think a lot of times it could be Republicans, Democrats, Independents, Green Party. People use controversial social issues to divide us. And right now, people are having trouble paying their rent. People are having trouble paying their bills. The bills are coming in. They're like, what the heck's going on? Why is all of this going up? People deserve the right to make a living. I think Sean Fain for UAW is just hitting that point. He's
Yeah.
saying, hey, we need more time with our families.
Yeah.
And
there should not be billionaires.
there should not be
Yes.
billionaires. Yeah, I am a firm.
Millionaires are cool.
Millionaires are cool.
They're all right.
They're all right.
know,
Yeah, I have a friend. but going back, not here. But going back to the UI benefits, why was it such a big deal to labor that he vetoed it? Why was it such a big deal to us? Do you think we just why are we up and the Teamsters, for example? They're not gonna hold them. They're not going to let loose on him on this one. I saw their speeches up there in LA, how they're like, okay, we're not going to forgive Gavin Newsom for this one. Because
For the AB 316, the autonomous.
that one too.
That one as well.
That one too. But the unemployment benefits
Yeah.
too, because everybody's
Right.
going on strike, and all of a sudden that would have been a game changer for labor
Yeah.
if we can get unemployment benefits while we're on strike, because not every union has a strike fund. We've never gone on strike, this local. And we're planning to. We're building the strike fund. This is the first time we've ever done it. So, but most locals don't have a strike fund. So why do you all think it was such a big deal for us to have this bill passed?
Well, I wish that I had my LA president from our union here, because I'm not based in LA, so I haven't been following the local LA politics or California politics. But anytime that you attack a worker's ability to be able to stand up for themselves, that's going to matter to unions. So, I mean, right off the bat, if this was something that they were allowed to do before, and then you take it away because it's looking like a real possibility that the workers are going to be able to gather their collective power, that must be stopped.
And I think one thing I would add too is that New Jersey and New York, like New Jersey, no offense, but New Jersey has this, provides this to
Right.
striking workers.
Yeah.
2 states already provide
Yeah.
this, and when it's not even that much. Unemployment is not that a lot of money, and so this is one of the things that really bothers me personally. And I'm not speaking on behalf of my employer. We don't have to bring that up, but I'm not speaking on behalf of my employer. But this is me just as a worker. Is the fact that California for this, so in unemployment insurance is paid in by the businesses and by corporations. California has one of the lowest, if not the lowest, in the country. It has not been increased since 1983.
Really?
Yes,
I didn't know that.
1983. So one of the things that, like, if you read what Gavin Newsom said, and then if you read what, like, the Chamber of Commerce, which is like, what they always say is basically like, I flipped off the camera.
It's okay.
And the rat.
That's-
Not Buddha.
Yeah.
no, for those on Spotify. But anyways, the issue is that, like, the argument that you always hear as a worker is like, well, we don't have enough money. Like, it's insolvent. There's no money in there. There's no money. It's just, okay, so, like, you are the government, right? There's an issue. Like, it's already, like, insolvent. There's not funds in it, blah, 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 blah. Then fucking fix it? Like, isn't that your fucking job? Like, okay, so somehow, because corporations are not paying their fair share, workers are going to continue to get fucked. And somehow that's like, so your hands are tied? Like, then why the hell did we elect you? You know what I mean? That makes no sense to me. So, like, again, it's not even that much money. You would have to be on strike after 2 weeks. A lot of strikes don't even last, 2 weeks. We're seeing a lot now. But the issue is that this was like $400 a week is not even paying your fucking rent. Let's be honest. No. Like, not in California.
Not in California.
But what it would allow is for you to put food on your table. Exactly. And knowing exactly, especially what happened with the writer's strike, like that leaked memo or email where it basically said, oh, it's an unfortunate, like, cruel, like, evil, cruel, necessary evil, which is basically, like, they said it. Like, we know what the bosses are saying. They're saying, we are waiting out workers who are on strike. We are waiting until they get to the point where they starve.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, it's very... not only upsetting, but, like, I hope what it makes is workers being like, oh, I need to get involved, because union power. And then this is something that you hear Chamber of Commerce always saying as well, like, oh, those, like, the union, like, the labor has all this power. Like, labor is workers. Like, labor and unions are literally advocating for what workers want, right? No one else is doing that for us. So, like, when we understand that union power is political power, is economic power, like, that's the way that we're actually going to be able to make any kind of changes that we want that are going to support and literally just have, like, a life of dignity and respect for workers.
And it's a class war. It's not.
Yes.
It's not a war against, like, race. It's not a culture war. It is a class war.
Yes.
And when these evil CEOs or, like, whatever level they are say, we're going to wait out this strike to starve the workers, we're going to wait for them to lose their homes.
Yeah.
They're talking about your neighbors. They're not your neighbors.
Yep.
Like, I don't know anybody that lives next to a CEO. They're talking about our neighbors. They're talking about our communities, and they want to see them destroyed.
Yeah, I think definitely, like, those kind of leaked memos, and I think it's showing people's true colors at this time. We've known this forever. We talk about it forever. But when that kind of stuff leaks out, then we're like, damn, that's what they thought of us. I'm sure the writers were like, damn, that's kind of fucked up. Like, I work with these people. I work for these people. So we know what their intentions are. It's never a family. That's a talking point that they use when they union bust. It's like, oh, we're a family. Here's a pizza party and all that good stuff. But as cheesy and as outdated these tactics are, they still work.
Yep.
I'm sure, though, this is exactly why the Drew Barrymore show writers are not going back, is because...
They're not going back?
No, they're not going back. They're going to have to hire new WGA writers.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because, she said that they were a family, that she cared about them, and then she was going to go scab on them.
Yeah.
And so, no, they're not going back. They've got their dignity, and they're going to keep it.
And that's, like, the power of social media and also the power of bullying. I'm going to say it right now. Like, some people need to be bullied.
Yeah, we need more of that in America.
We need more of that.
This is
Bully your
America.
neighbors.
No. Bully the bosses,
bosses, yeah.
and bully the scabs.
Yeah.
Like, no, like, for example, like Drew Barrymore and Bill Belmar, like they learned real quick that things are changing. And if you're not with the workers, then you're against us. That's it. That's the bottom line.
I don't think they know what's going. We know what's going on in the labor movement. We see the power. We see people rising. We see the approval rating. There's this energy that's there, and the people have just lost at the top have lost focus.
Well, I think, and I say this all the time on the
that's
podcast,
a good
right? The analogy.
I like. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's do it. There's this comedian, and it's a joke, but I don't know the joke. I can't. Anyways, he says that when you become like a leader, a politician, or something, you're disconnected from everybody else, from the worker, from the average Joe, average Jane, paycheck to paycheck. You're no longer that. That's not your society anymore. It's kind of like, he says, like back in the days in the 90s and before, when you start getting too close to a TV screen, it starts getting pixelated, the screen, the image, so you can no longer see the image anymore. You have to stand back so you can see the full picture. And that's where we're at as workers. We see the full picture, I think, and we have our thumb on the pulse. But these politicians, Drew Barrymore and Bill Maher and all of them, they have their own class circle and solidarity. They know how to organize.
And they protect it.
And they protect themselves. They vote. They get their friends to vote. They buy off the right corporations, pass the right bills. And it does work. The unions are the ones that created the super PAC. And then corporations saw, hey, I'm going to do that too because it works. And they're doing it now. But yeah, like these people are so disconnected that they don't know what's going on. I remember... I'm gonna keep saying this. I didn't even name it, but the campaign that I ran during 4th of July, they sent out a mailer.
Oh, I remember that.
It was all like 4th of July, be American, vote no for your independence. Very like that, and it was during 2020 George Floyd, right? And so I read it because they sent it to me, and I was like, that's how disconnected that they are. That they don't even know how people are feeling, how the community is feeling, how the country was feeling, that the world, that they would send a pro-America kind of messaging when all these workers are living paycheck to paycheck. This San Diego, a lot of these kids are people of color.
This is why they're getting their butts handed to them, though, is because they're so disconnected. They don't understand the power of solidarity. Right there. Because we're going to take care, like solidarity says we're going to take care of each other. I don't know what you do. I don't know what you do, but I know that you need to have a safe working environment. You need to have enough money to feed your family and take care of yourself. You need to have health benefits. All of these things I'm going to care about greatly because we have solidarity and we care about each other. But these people that are disconnected, they don't have anything. And as soon as they hit rock bottom, there's not going to be anybody there to pick them up because they haven't linked together with people, in any genuine way. Sure, they do to make money, but, money, people aren't going to link back up to you if you don't have it.
I think the labor movement was going on. It's going to win as long as we keep the focus on solidarity, as long as we keep it on kitchen table economics. Because let me tell you, it can be Green Party, it could be independents, Republicans, Democrats, or whatever. But I know the controversial social issues we're never going to agree on. But we can agree that people deserve their basic fundamental needs: food, drink, shelter, safety needs. That's what, making sure. Now, we can talk about the other things, but heck, let's start there. Let's the basic fundamentals of human existence.
And I've actually want to add to what you guys are saying in terms of like solidarity, and I think it's something that people should understand. I could not fucking like you. You can think someone's a piece of shit, and I still think they deserve a life of dignity and respect in the workplace and just regardless, right? So that's what solidarity is. I could be like, yeah, you're kind of annoying, right? But I still am going to be on the picket line with you, right? That's what solidarity is. And I think that's one of the things that we have to keep in mind, because you were saying, if you are speaking to someone and a coworker and you have a disagreement on something, I mean, there's certain disagreements, let's be honest too, like James Baldwin said, if your disagreement is based on is taking away my humanity, that's a different question, conversation, right? But things that has to do about how we go about organizing, right? I'm not that's so irrelevant to the bigger issue, which is working class solidarity.
Right. Because when we organize, I don't ask people wait a minute, did you vote for Trump or you're Republican?
Right.
We don't ask those questions.
Sometimes you just know.
You just know, and then I high five them. I'm like, all right, cool. But we're gonna agree on this though. The latest comment we got on what we went to the UAW picket line in Ontario here, not Canada,
Not
California.
Canada. I said Canada.
He said
Sorry.
Canada.
Whoops.
On
I
this
thought I
live,
corrected
yeah.
myself.
I think you did. But we went, we interviewed some workers there, and we posted up the video on YouTube. And one of the comments was like, "I'm anti-union, but this is a
Give
great
you-
interview," like that. And
I give you guys credit.
credit
Yeah.
where credit is due. So to me, it's more like people still relate to the messaging, even though they're not tied into our political affiliation or whatever. We've all been brainwashed since we were kids to be anti-union.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
And
Totally.
I was just thinking that, if somebody's anti-union, they probably don't know what a union
Exactly.
does
Yeah.
and like what we can do.
They take your money, quote unquote. Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, inoculation, here in California, they just passed a bill, correct me if I'm wrong, that they're going to start teaching labor rights and organizing in high schools.
Yep.
That's great.
So it's going to be a game changer because
Yeah.
from what I understand is that Jeff Bezos and all these big old corporations, they spend a lot of money
Yeah.
on boards, on school boards, that they can write the curriculum and brainwash our kids. But I think this can start combating that.
Yeah.
So hopefully all these kids going into the work force, they already have more of a empathy and more, they understand what organizing is and what unions are all about.
Or understanding. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say also by not teaching labor history, we're losing so many great moments of
Right.
American history where, because everybody likes to talk about when we won our independence from
Yeah.
the British. But what about when we won our independence from oppressive labor practices, when our children didn't have to work in mines anymore? All of these things were great hurdles that people overcame. And there's also been a lot of times where we could really uncover how corporations set up goons outside of a picket line and started shooting at people or pushing trains over on them. Like there's a great history that we're losing part of to keep people's power in check.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, that's why we're here. Union
Yeah.
or bust. Whatever, like the comment you said, it's resonating. If we can move people who are anti-union that are going to comment saying, I like you guys. You guys made a good point. I mean, that's
Oh,
what
you
we
didn't
need
see
to-
the TikTok that I made with Trump?
No, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, you did. I made a TikTok with Trump, and he said,
Yeah. That one I did see.
Nah.
It's that one. There.
and he was like, "Union or bust guys, they're good guys. I like these guys. I like
Oh,
the
gosh.
podcast." Blah, blah, blah. and I put the
Best
voice.
guys ever.
Yeah, but something like that.
Well, the thing is like people I was talking, on our drive over here, we were talking about how, people value their political party. People value their views on social issues. And I say this on the podcast, but there's, I say I'm Christian, my dad's Hindu, but there's an old proverb in India that says, after you cut off someone's nose, there's no point in giving them a rose to smell. After you demean what someone holds as valuable, you could tell them the truth, but they'll never believe you because you demean what they hold as valuable. And I think that's what we try to do on the podcast. We know there's a lot of pro-union Trump supporters. We know there's pro-union, Gavin supporters or
Well, they polled already people
Yeah.
like on their support with the UAW strike. They
Yeah.
say like 75% of Americans support the strike.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
It's the highest approval rate, 71% approval rating for labor, and that's across the board. That's the highest approval rating of any kind of organized faction, whether it's labor, Congress, the Senate, cops. We have the highest approval rating.
You're welcome.
It's labor. You're welcome, Gavin Newsom. That's why Gavin Newsom. I think he's shooting himself in the foot.
Yeah, I was really surprised because he did veto that one, the driverless trucks. He vetoed that one. We're just like, oh my god! I went after him on that,
Yeah.
and then he did this. So, it looks like he's almost horse trading. He's like, okay, if I don't do these and I do these, they're just out of touch. They don't realize how powerful the labor movement is right now.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
the thing.
and we're
They
just
need
growing.
to know that backing us is not a risk. It used to be like,
Yeah.
oh, it's risky. Like maybe they're socialists, maybe they're communists. They had all these like different levels of like isms that meant they shouldn't support us. But the truth is, it's not a risk. We are organized. We go out there. Like we go door to door. If that's what we need to do to get the things passed that we need passed. But unfortunately, what I was talking about with you is that they're very fickle. So yeah, they support us when there's a photo opportunity, but we need to hold their feet to the fire. If they're not supporting us in legislation, then they need to, be ready because that's the risk. Turning on us, that's the risk.
Right, right. And what you said, like, it's not like they're siding with socialists or communists, right? With siding with labor, they're not taking that risk anymore. But you know what I think it is? It's did you all watch that movie, Oppenheimer?
No,
No,
I
I saw
haven't seen it
Barbie.
yet.
You saw Barbie? Your team
Yeah,
Barbie?
I saw
All right.
Barbie instead.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So Oppenheimer, you guys kind of know the premise of it.
Yeah.
He helps with the atomic bomb and all that good stuff. We went to
Good
go watch
stuff?
it. You don't like bombs?
Sorry, come on.
But
let me head out.
we'll cut this part out.
Cut that out.
No. But anyways, so in the movie, it shows how they were organizing the staff at this college, and he was part of the organizing committee. Oppenheimer was, but then they told him like, "Hey, you're gonna be part of this project, but you have to drop that campaign because it was tied into socialism, communism," and he ended up dropping the organizing campaign to work on the project. And I saw it and I was like, what? Speaking to me, labor, organizing. And it's in this badass Christopher Nolan movie. So I think back then, yeah, if you're tied into socialism and communism when you think of labor. Nowadays, what I think is going on is that people are like, yeah, sure, socialism sounds kind of cool, actually. Or
But it's also not even that.
It's not
just
even that. I don't even think it is.
It's not radical to think that people should be treated right.
Exactly.
You know?
Right.
And we have the internet, so we know what other countries are doing.
Right.
Oh, they have healthcare in France and Germany and stuff. I think that sounds kind of cool.
It's crazy waking up in the morning, sometimes we like, there are children without health care in this country.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think what's happening right now is we're just lions right now. And we're saying, you're going to do this or you're not going to be in office anymore.
Yeah.
And that's, we're sending a message to people. Like, it's not right that children don't have health care.
Yeah.
And,
Or anybody.
or anybody.
Like
Yeah.
adults,
But
old people,
Yeah.
none of it is okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. And one thing that I would want to add too is a really good book. It's called Left. Actually, two books. One of them, shameless plug for my friend Kim Kelly, Fight Like Hell. A really good book.
Oh, we met
Oh,
her.
Kim Kelly, we met her.
Yeah, big deal.
We took a selfie.
Yeah, she's awesome. But that's a really good book about labor history. When I go back to that, but the other book is called Left Out, like America's Red Industrial Unions, and basically it talks about how when there was that separation between the AFL and the CIO, like way back in the day, right? A lot of the very militant, like the way that you got power was because it was socialists and communists putting their literal fucking life on the line. Like they were the ones that were being shot at by these goons, right? Because those were the ones that were like, yes, I'm down. Like I'm gonna do this. Like I'm going to organize, or we're going to organize for like the better good. So like ultimately in labor right now, you do have so many different types of individuals, whether it's someone who's like conservative Republican or someone who's a socialist or a communist. Like ultimately, it's like at this point, it's like it makes no sense to be arguing of like, oh, I'm more fucking left than you. Like
Yeah.
that's so irrelevant. Like
Yeah.
it's about creating and actually building like working class power from the bottom up. That's what it has to be about. Like what you were saying in terms of like the what do you call it? Kitchen economics or
Kitchen table economics.
There you go.
Well, I've got two book suggestions for you guys too. One of them is called Strike Back from Joe Burns, in which they talk about just different types of militant practices with strikes. And then the other one is the Great Stewardess Rebellion. And this one is, in my wheelhouse. It's about how women flight attendants ended up having a workplace rebellion, and they say at 36,000 feet. But these women were in the day that this started, they weren't allowed to become 32 years old. Like they were fired the moment that they turned 32. Wow. They weren't allowed to be pregnant. They weren't allowed to get married because the airlines were trying to pimp out this like idea of when you as a businessman get on this plane, these women are available.
Wow.
The airlines would force their flight attendants to kiss their best passengers.
Ew.
Oh, wow.
They
wow.
would allow their supervisors to fondle the flight attendants to ensure that they were wearing girdles. These are the things that the women who were flight attendants had to fight against in contracts and in
Holy shit.
unionizing before they could even begin to bargain for health care, for 401ks, for the things that men have been able to bargain for decades and decades before we were even able to get decent like human rights in the workplace. And so these are things that we're still having to fight against in our contracts right now. There is absolutely a lot of like patriarchy in the airline industry that we're still trying to squash. And so I would recommend that book, The Great Stewardess Rebellion. I can't think of the author's name off the top of my head, but that'll kind of give you a history of the things that women have had to fight for. And it gives a little like explanation on how the feminist movement was able to really get kickstarted by flight attendants. So I'm wearing my women's CWA shirt in honor of that,
Oh,
that
that's
struggle
cool.
today.
That's awesome. Speaking of, I think it's important to know your history so we can have context to know where, it's important to know where you've been, to know where you're going kind of deal. Speaking of history, these old people, Congress and senators, how come there's no term limits there? Do you guys think we should have term limits with these people? I think the average age is like 50
100?
something.
Oh.
Probably 100. At this point, I don't know.
That's tough because if they're great, then no. And if they're not great, then yeah. So
I think there needs to be term limits. I'm sorry. Like there's like you have a limit on when you are be allowed to. Like if some of these individuals, we're not even allowing them to be like driving on the street. Why the hell are they writing laws for us?
Right.
It makes no fucking sense.
Yeah, I think it goes back to what we were saying that there's so. Imagine once you make it, you're disconnected. Once you make it and you're there for 50 years, you have no idea what a normal person
But
is
also,
anymore.
if you know that you're not going to be alive in 20 years, then why not take that bribe and pass legislation that's going to totally just destroy the environment to where it's not livable in 20 years?
Yeah.
They don't have skin in the game anymore.
Yeah. Let's get us in trouble. Why don't you think labor pushes term limits with these people? Here in San Diego, we push term limits, and we're all happy when we won. How come we don't push it in national level? What do you guys think? Too many connections, relationships.
Maybe just because they're fighting other fights. You've got to be very careful to target what you're going after. So I would think that that's probably one of those battles that until you get other momentum on board, you're going to be wasting a lot of resources on it until it gets to a certain point.
Speaking of term limits, would either one of you consider running for office?
Fuck no.
I did run for office. I ran for national secretary and narrowly lost. But it was a big learning experience, and I would definitely run again.
Okay.
Yeah, I just feel like it's important to be able to offer members a choice. If people are going, duly elected, then that's a real shame because the membership has missed an opportunity of finding somebody else that actually represents what they want. So yeah, I think everybody should.
What about public office?
Oh, public office.
Yeah. The good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After if I felt like I got done what I needed to get done within the union and in my career, then I would think about it. I would look into it. There's I know that in Arizona, where I'm from, the AFL-CIO has a pathway to power. I don't know if they have that everywhere, but they'll help you learn how to run for office and give resources towards that.
I was kind of thinking, and I know sometimes I feel like you and I are on the same wavelength, but right now, the stars in 2009 when the approval of labor unions wasn't that high, it's like the taking pictures of the politicians, elected officials. Hey, I'm hanging out, the parties and stuff like that. I mean, I don't even want to take pictures of politicians. I want to take pictures with labor leaders, like Sean Fame or Sean O'Brien, or I mean, I was like, when you two walked in here, I'm like, I gotta get pictures because these are historical moments. I mean, if we're able to unite all people, all parties under the labor movement, I just think that's where we're heading.
I'm so grateful. Like there's like this momentum, right? And I'm so glad, Alana. Like please do. Like when we have good people wanting to run, that's amazing. I think for me the important thing about this kind of the movement in the space right now is having workers see themselves reflected in us, right? So like I'm first gen, Spanish was my first language at home. I want workers to see themselves reflected in the way that I speak. Yeah, I cuss a lot. Yeah, like I was ESL as in elementary, and it's just kind of like not necessarily looking for like the leaders will be like, oh, they're going to make this change for us, but like, oh shit, I also have that power because I also deal with the same fucking issues at work. Like it's just that. It's like ensuring that other people feel also like inspired and empowered for them to do the work themselves.
It's not like, and I talk about, your handle, all things labor, your union sister, organizing monster. I'm your union brother. And it's like we're building something here, and we're able to communicate the importance of kitchen table economics to the entire country on these platforms. And it's like, we don't have to depend necessarily on elected officials. We're organizing. We're organizing the whole country, the world.
Yeah, speaking of politics and organizing, what do you all think about starting a Labor Party?
Oh, I would
Is that
love
a
that.
thing? Is that?
I would love to see that happen because I think that with having just two parties for the most part, I mean, there's other parties, but when it comes down to it, there's just two. I think that that's also caused a lot of division in our country. But if there was like other options where people would see that they're represented and that what their issues are really going to be what takes precedence, is going to be a great movement of solidarity throughout this country.
And I think one of the things that absolutely, like, we should absolutely always have these goals and these ideas and work towards them. And in the meantime, be very realistic with what the reality looks like today, right? So, for example, I am a member, I'm a dues-paying member of DSA, Democratic Socialist America, because it was the only party that provided any support to me and my coworkers when we were organizing. It wasn't the Democrats, it wasn't anybody else. And it was literally just like, hey, come to our labor committee. Hey, like, you like whatever you need amplified online, we'll help you. Like, oh, hey, like get connected to other workers that are also organizing in Los Angeles. And but the thing is, like, we have to think about things like locally, statewide, and also nationally, right? So yes, I'm voting. I'm gonna get hate, whatever, but I vote Democrat when it comes to presidential election because it is a two-party system, right? And knowing, for example, like Biden's whatever, but he put Jennifer Abruzzo, the general counsel for NLRB, like in the position, and she's a fucking badass.
And he showed up to a picket line.
You know what I mean? So like,
Not Gavin Newsom.
No, not Gavin.
so like
Newsom.
celebrate, but I think it's like the Democratic Party can be like pushed if workers are organizing, right? So that, for example, look at Los Angeles. You have a lot of folks that are running on like a DSA platform. And why is that? Because workers are organizing. Like my whole thing is like, this is like tough love. But when people are like, oh yeah, like two-party system, and they go directly to the president. It's like, dog, what the fuck are you doing locally? You know, like get involved like that and make sure we're building that power, again, from the bottom up.
DSA is great. They're actually, we're all working together right now to try to abolish the right to work laws in Arizona, which if we could do that, that would be amazing for unions. So
what's
DSA.
right to work?
Oh, yeah, you guys are really lucky being in California.
Yeah.
Right to work means that you can have freeloaders in your union, basically. They don't have to pay union dues, and they still get the benefits of union membership.
Right.
And so it cripples our unions where, they're using all of their resources that they can to just stay afloat. So if there were right to work rules that were abolished, then all of a sudden people would have to pay their fair share into their union, and the unions would be able to start to build up power.
That's what we're going to do. I mean, we just have to walk in the room now and just be like, this is what's happening. And I think a good indication of that was when Drew Barrymore said she was going to cross. When Bill Maher, I mean, we slammed him. I was like, I did my first collaboration with All Things Labor on Instagram. She's like, oh my God, she added me. I was really stoked, by the way, when you followed me on TikTok. I go, that was really cool. I was like, oh, I go, we made it.
Oh, we're done. Yeah,
we're done. Well, it's like, I mean, come on. I mean, it's like this excitement. I mean, this time that we're having, the impact that this podcast and your platforms and everything that's going on. I mean, it's just it's exciting. And what do we have? About 2 years left.
Yeah, we always say we have 2 years, but we say that every year. So we probably already ran out.
The contract.
Yeah. No, but we say like they're gonna come after us eventually. No, I tell Chris, I'm like, oh, dude, like by the end of this year, if not early next year, the Democratic Party's gonna come to us and be like, hey guys, you wanna, and then they're gonna give us money, and then we're like, just Biden is the star. And I told Chris, I was like, yeah, I'll sell out. I don't care. Like, I'll sell out. I'm really shallow. I'm simple. So
we'll be the first to call you out. You're gonna see a TikTok
yeah.
like Organizing monster.
Start blocking everybody.
Scab.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
With the
gosh.
little
awesome.
rat face right over there.
I'll be the first one. He just has to pay me like $300,000 and a good Wrangler.
That's it?
Yeah, I'm cheap.
That's it?
I'm cheap.
Damn, you are cheap.
I'm cheap. Yeah.
Just give him
You can't even buy
Jabberwocky.
a
Just give him
house.
Jabberwocky tickets to Vegas.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that's what I tell Chris. I'm like, don't worry, dude. They're gonna hit us up, but I think that's cool though. Just might be joking about that. Is I think that's what the Democratic Party is following, is organizing this labor. If we say jump, they're following, they're jumping. So I think this is a new time. This is the most exciting time to be alive. I haven't been in labor for a long time, just like 5 years, but I've learned so much in these 5 years that I've been. We have a podcast.
I mean, we have a podcast.
What'd
But
do?
you know,
we got
as
all things
far as-
labor, and you're your sister on. How about
As far
that?
as what the Democrats are doing for labor, though, we have to remember what they did to the railroad workers not too
100%.
long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're showing up now, but they didn't when they needed them.
Right.
You know, so we still have to tread lightly with them. They cannot necessarily be trusted until they've proven themselves.
Right.
You know, people like Bernie Sanders, he has not changed ever. He's solidly been for the workers, and his voting record has shown that.
Right.
But the rest of them, they've got something to prove. And that's why I do think that more people that are involved in labor unions need to get out there and run. There's so many different positions at the local level that don't even get filled, or nobody runs
Right.
for it. And nobody is going to be able to tell our story like we can.
Right.
Nobody is going to look out for us like we will. And we can't trust them to, you know, because how do you get a millionaire or billionaire to understand what it's like to have to make, you know, things work under like, you know, $50,000 a year or whatever it is that you're making? These people make that in a day.
Yeah.
They've never had to worry about what temperature they have their air conditioner at. They've never had to worry about not getting a sale item, you know, or whatever it is. Clipping coupons, like they probably don't even know those exist.
Right.
Right.
And so that's why it's important for people like us to go out there and
I think so too. That's
run.
why we're delegates in the Democratic Party and the DNC or whatever here. We're delegates 2 times, 3 times. I don't know. This last time I made a joke, like I didn't even vote for myself. I didn't even vote. We made a video about that. People got pissed off.
and he got the most.
I got the
votes.
most votes for the guys. Yeah. And I was all bragging. I'm like, that's right, motherfuckers. And I made a video of me ripping my ballot. But yeah, I'm like obnoxious. Like, but that's why they hate me so much. But they love
They
us
keep
though.
us electing us.
Yeah.
It's like I go, well, you know, we need, you know, I don't know what they're thinking.
I don't know what they're thinking. But we're the ones at the picket lines every single week, whatever it is. We're out there. We're out there sharing everything that we see on social media. I think social media is like the new high school for a lot of people, especially Facebook. People outside of social media would tell me like, I liked your post. I think it was funny. And then I'm like, why didn't you like it or share it or comment or something? And like, you know, but then they can't. Some people like politicians can't.
Yeah.
They tell me it's like, no one, I can't, because then it'll make me look bad with this other person.
yeah, but they can.
But they can't.
But they can. Like we're brave enough to do it, and you know they need to do that too. They need to show people that that's how their constituents are feeling. They're not even taking the risk by sharing it. That's saying, "Look at what I saw." Not I have this view too. They can
Right.
do it.
Sharing is solidarity.
Right.
Yes.
And-
Right.
But
And-
also, I made a post recently where I took our CEO's pay and like stock benefits and everything to figure out how long it would take me to earn in one, like what he made
a
in
good
1
post.
year. It was like 244 years
Damn.
Wow.
that it would take me to earn what he earns in 1 year. And is his job really that important? Because from what I can tell, like what CEOs do with like analyzing markets, keeping the board happy, I feel like an AI could do that job.
Oh, dang.
Do we want to pay that much per year for an AI? Like, you know, nobody would do that. But why are we doing that with people?
Right.
Especially like there's so many, especially like celebrities or like CEO of like 1,000 different brands. It's like, so you're not busy,
Working.
right? So
Yeah.
it's not a job, right?
And they're on boards
Right.
and different things. Yeah.
Right.
And they're starting nonprofits here and there.
Like I'll be honest, I'm on a board for a nonprofit. I go to I don't get paid for it, but like I go to a meeting once a year. The fuck? You know what I mean? Like what the hell?
Yeah.
No, it's bullshit. It's a bullshit job.
Yeah. So much. No, that's awesome. So another thing that I've jotted down here is that here in San Diego, November 29th through December 1st. I know you are out of town, but there's going to be like a communications conference. Oh, you saw that?
Yeah.
Are you guys going to go, or are you going to go?
Pending. I need to see what other things we're doing at my workplace, but I'm hoping to. But we'll see.
Right.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. Maybe I'll come.
Yeah,
What is
I
it?
printed out the papers and I
Okay.
already lost it. So- oh, it's right there. Ricardo.
Ricardo, this is your chance.
This is your chance,
you're
dude. Say
in.
what's up. I printed out the little
Awesome.
website thing. It has my information on there because I was filling that out. So it's the International Labor Communications Association conference here in San Diego. And it has like the agenda on
They
there.
have all the info. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
See that? Organizing
Lots of great
monster.
You're already
panels and
organizing.
workshops.
Yeah, I'm already
You
organizing.
know, these things are so important though
Yeah.
because it's just another tool. Like,
Exactly.
I don't know if you guys do other like labor trainings and things, but to be able to get into a room with people like for unions that you didn't even know existed and be able to find out what their issues are, or what strategies they're employing to be able to ignite their membership.
Mm-hmm.
It's just great to be able to get together and learn from each other.
It's like iron sharpening iron.
Yes.
That's what I like.
Yeah, one of the days is AI, podcasting, video production. So there you go. That's our lane.
Are you
Basically.
guys leading it or what?
Yeah.
We didn't even know, and they already signed
I
us
don't
up.
even know if I can go.
Yeah, yeah. But I think it's cool. It's really important. Every time we go to these type of conferences or conventions or whatever, definitely hand out the handle, and then
Yeah.
people start following, and then all of a sudden we're all friends. Because the old way of doing things was like the information has to travel through the organization, and then an email has to get okayed, and then now it's like, oh no, I just met them already out there,
Yeah.
and then now we're following each other. Now I know what the nurses are doing. Oh, they're gonna have another strike before the email comes in from the
Yeah.
labor council.
Yep.
So I think that's what's going on
Yeah.
right now too with social media. So how much time have we been going, Ricardo? Almost an hour. Okay, cool. So I like asking this question to everybody that comes on because the theme of this podcast is solidarity. So what does solidarity mean to you? Take it away.
So I kind of touched on this, that solidarity means that no matter what you do or what union you're with, I support you in having a better job or having what you need to survive and then some, getting the care that you need and then some. You know, I believe that everybody should have equal dignity and the ability to do better for themselves and their family. And solidarity means showing up for each other. And one thing I tell people in my union is solidarity is not easy at all. It takes so much time, you know, because like, for instance, my the vice president of my national union flew out to Arizona to go to a Joe Biden event because I got invited for us to go and listen to Joe Biden speak. And it was because of the different connections I've made. You know, we help each other out, and that's what solidarity is. It's making sure that you can help rise everyone up.
Yeah. Yes. Second.
We have a second on the
Perfect.
floor.
Ditto.
Thanks for answering all that.
Solidarity's right here.
Yeah, this is it. I completely agree, and I think for me is also, well, I'll say what it's not. Right, when we were organizing, we had a captive audience meetings, like a mandatory captive audience meetings, which is definitely one of the tools that these bosses use. And someone who is a scab, and I will not say her name, she's just like, you don't get my solidarity, you have to earn it. That's not how fucking solidarity works, bitch. That's not how it works. So one of the things that for me, I was able to head out to Mexico, and I wrote 2 articles with labor notes when I was interning with them about auto plant workers that are also like organizing independently. It's also really badass what's happening in Mexico right now. If you're not, there's like a lot of like change in legislation that's allowing workers to actually have like real unions, not charro unions. And charro unions are like known for being incredibly corrupt and like having ties with the cartels, et cetera. And so these workers are like going out and literally not only fighting their boss, fighting a corrupt union, like fighting threats, literal threats of like, we're gonna fucking kill you if you don't stop, and they're still out there. Like, and one of the things that I think is just so powerful is the international solidarity, and the thing is that we practice it every day. Like the thing is, it's hard, but we do it every day. This story I love to share is I went to China a few years ago, and I was at the hiking the Great Wall. and it was slippery as hell because it was really icy. It was like the iciest like week of November or something. And I was like, I'm gonna eat shit and I'm actually gonna fall. And it's scary because it was like missing. I went to like the half broken down wall section, and I remember, and like I don't speak any Mandarin, right? So I was like, fuck, and I'm really scared, thinking like, shit, I'm gonna fall. And all of a sudden, there's a photo somewhere on my Instagram about it. But there's like 3 like older women who like look at me, and I look at them, and there's a photo, and like they go out to like reach out to give me their hand so they can help me move up. You know what I mean? So that I wouldn't fall. Like that's solidarity, and I think if we just recognize that we're doing it every day, and it's just like, and it makes us feel good, you know, and it's like, you don't need to know everything about the NLRA. You don't need to know everything, the entire history. Like you as a worker, you already have a space in the labor movement. You don't need to be invited. You're in it, you know. So how involved do you want to get? Like, go to a picket line. Show up to a picket line. You don't know what the hell is going on. Show up to a picket line and support.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
just
Gavin
start
Newsom.
with sharing a post, right? Share that post.
Sharing is caring, definitely.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, there you go. Any last words before we end this episode? We like to keep it an hour, not because we run out of things to talk about, but because battery life and editing power. Yeah,
Ricardo, you got it?
I know Ricardo. He's all waving at me over there.
Shut the hell up.
Yeah.
It's blinking.
Is that
But
yellow?
thank you guys for having us
Yeah.
on. It's great that you guys are putting this platform out there, that you've created it, and that you're growing it. You know, I've watched you guys from the early stages of your social media, like the Bambi stage where you're trying to figure out, like, you had a different username, and it's so cool to see you guys building this momentum here and knowing that it's happening all around the world. You know, we've got your Union Made in Canada.
Oh, yeah, shout out.
We've got Jason 254
Or
underscore
easy,
easy.
yeah.
Another shout
And
out.
yeah,
Another shout out.
these people are making it happen all over, and it's great to see that we're giving each other the help.
Yeah, and it's literally not to be all freaking Barney about it, but it's literally just making like new comrades and new friends, and I think that's just like something that's super beautiful. So again, it's just the last thing I would just say is kind of just like the invitation for a worker. Like we all resonate in having some like a shitty boss or a shitty workplace or not being respected or like having a life of dignity. Like get involved, start asking questions, start with your coworkers, you know, and like
Question everything.
question everything and just why, you know, and just show up, just show up. Literally follow these accounts if you want to know more about like, okay, how did they go about organizing? Like I think Starbucks is a great example of this. So just like you get inspired by that, so allow yourself to be inspired, and just like you don't have to be a pro. I didn't know shit before I started all this, you know. And so what I would say is just like you don't need to know shit. You just need to know that something's fucked up and you want to you have the will to change it.
And people are there to help.
100%.
Yes.
Right. Well, there you have it, Chris. I think this was another episode of Union or Bust. Successful episode. What do you think?
The people united will never be divided.
Hell yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Amen.
That's
Catch
right.
you later.